quite an increase from 60,000 a year.
It was quite an increase to get them to where they are right now from what they were getting.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I don't know. See, that's what I'm trying. I'm trying to fill in the blanks for me.
Or stepchild in the past.
Detailed results of how you're doing it. Is it or quarter?
Is Tom not here? Is Tom not coming?
Tom's gone.
You didn't know that either.
I know everything.
Do we have a meeting next week?
No, this is the third meeting.
I didn't get a warning. Looks like we're ready to start, though. We're going to call this meeting to order. September 20th of 2018 Muscatine City Council meeting. Cinda, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Spread? Councilmember Harvey?
Here.
Rockert?
Present.
Macedo?
Present.
Brackett?
Present.
Fitzgerald?
Present.
Malcolm?
Present.
6 present, 1 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you. Will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I'd like to start by asking if there's anybody here tonight that would like to talk to council about something that's not already on tonight's agenda. Please come to the podium. State your name and address, please.
My name is Ralph Burr, 3015 Allen Street,
Please come to the
First Ward.
podium. State
You've
your
heard of
name
this
and address,
phrase, rain
please.
and rain, go away. Well, it's time this
name is
lift
Ralph
station
Burr,
on Hauser
3015
Allen's
Please
way.
come to the podium.
The first part of June, there was a sewer break in the sewer line on Hauser, not too far from the lift station. It had 3 holes in
Please come to the
it.
podium.
The first part of June, there was a sewer break in the sewer line on Hauser, not too far from September 2nd. That Sunday, said there was a lot of rain. The sewer backed up. So the last meeting I was here, out there to, I can't think of it down, anyhow.
To Brian.
Dave,
Brian.
about this, because the last time they was talking like a 30-foot manhole or something, you know. And I got to talk to him, I said, well, the budget's coming up. And so that's why I'm here tonight, because he says, you got to put on the budget to get this problem fixed. The only way to fix it is to get rid of that, and you have to run it over Hauser Hill. That's the only way to get rid of it. Because it's been a nuisance for over 25 years, and one council just passes it on down to the other. So you're stuck with it. So,
Thank you for coming, Mr. Burr. We will talk to staff and see if we can't get some answers, all right?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Hearing nothing, we'll go ahead and move forward unless you're going to come up here, John.
Not yet.
All right. We'll move along. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A and B, items 8A through D, items 9A through E, items 12A through C, and tonight's bills totaling $5,365,819.49.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Saucedo with the second by Councilman Harvey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Now we're going to move on down tonight's agenda to 9A from the mayor. We have several proclamations tonight, and I will read some of those to you. We are going to start with the United Nations Week. A lot of these happened in October. Whereas the United Nations was founded in 1945, and the anniversary of the day on which the UN Charter came into force is observed each year on October 24th. And whereas the United Nations promotes peace and security, development, democracy, economic prosperity, global health, and human rights around the world, and is vital now more than ever. And whereas the global goals from sustainable development were unanimously adopted by all 193 member nations of the United Nations in 2015, creating a common set of voluntary priorities for action on combating poverty, promoting sustainable economic growth, and advancing human dignity worldwide. And whereas the United States has a long tradition of international leadership and has shown bipartisan commitment to advancing the global goals at the national and local level through such important initiatives as U.S. support for global health and local leadership on combating human trafficking. And whereas a bipartisan poll revealed that more than 8 out of 10 voters say that it is important to them that the United States maintains an active role within the United Nations. And whereas the United Nations Association of the USA has declared global goals, local leaders as its theme to recognize local leadership and local efforts to champion one or more of the global goals for the 2017 United Nations Day commemoration. And whereas the city of Muscatine is committed to educating and mobilizing our local communities to build a stronger network of global citizens and leaders to create a more prosperous, safe, just, and sustainable world for all. And whereas the citizens of Muscatine should participate in all activities related to UN Day. Now, therefore, I, Diana Broderson, Mayor of the City of Muscatine, officially proclaim October 24th of 2018 as United Nations Day. Is there anyone here tonight from the United Nations? I don't see anybody. We'll make sure that we get that delivered. Next, we have Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th of 2018 marks the 231st anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Diana Broderson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Muscatine, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through 23rd as Constitution Week. And I ask that our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution and what they had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Would you like to come up? Please introduce yourself to the folks at home.
I'm Dawn Anderson. I'm the regent of the Muscatine DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The last one that we have tonight is Public Power Week. Whereas we, the citizens of Muscatine, place high value on local control over community services and therefore have chosen to operate community-owned, locally controlled, not-for-profit electric, water, and communication utilities, and as consumers and owners of our electric, water, and communications utilities have a direct say through their Board of Trustees in utility operations and policies. And whereas the Muscatine Power and Water electric system is a community asset that contributes to the well-being of the citizens and the employees, our neighbors serving neighbors, providing homes, businesses, farms, and local government agencies with not-for-profit electric services that are safe, reliable, and cost-effective. And whereas Muscatine Power and Water is a dependable and trustworthy institution whose local operation provides many consumer protections and continues to make our community and the city of Muscatine a better place in which to live and work, as well as contributions to protecting the environment. Be it further resolved that the week of October 7th, 13th of 2018 be designated the 32nd Annual Public Power Week in order to honor Muscatine Power and Water for its contributions to the community and to make its consumer owners, policymakers, and employees more aware of Muscatine Power and Water's overall contributions to the community. And be it further resolved that our community joins hands with more than 2,000 other public power systems in the United States in this celebration of public power and recognition that Muscatine Power and Water is good for consumers, businesses, the community, and the nation. That is all we have tonight for proclamations. I don't see anyone here from Muscatine Power and Water, so we will make sure that we get that sent over to them. And we will move along with tonight's agenda. That puts us all the way down to 11A. We have tonight presented for City Council's consideration the third and final reading of an ordinance amending Title A, Chapter 3 of the City Code. This amendment will bring the City of Muscatine into better alignment with the most recent addition to the National Electric Code. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance on third and final reading and to direct for its publication as required by law?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Harvey, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo? Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The ordinance is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11B. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the final plat of Taylor Cove subdivision. This proposed subdivision is located in unincorporated Muscatine County but falls within the 2-mile limit requiring the City of Muscatine to review and approve. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Harvey with a second by Councilman Saucedo. Any discussion? Hearing none. Councilwoman Brockert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
And Councilman Malcolm.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving the annual street finance report for fiscal year 17-18. Street-related expenditures for the year totaled $12,986,076. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
I'll second it, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Malcolm. Is there any discussion? Councilman Harvey, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. 11D. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution authorizing the assessment of unpaid abatement costs to private properties. The nuisance abatement costs for snow, junk, and weed removal total $1,659.20. The administrative fees are $550, and the assessment fees are $900. The total fee being requested for assessment at this time totals $3,109.20. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilman Harvey. Any discussion? Councilman Brackett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Harvey?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11E. Presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution setting a public hearing for October 4th of 2018 at 7 p.m. here in this room regarding plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated construction costs for the high-strength waste receiving project. Excuse me. Is there a motion to approve the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Brockert with a second by Councilman Brackett. Is there any discussion? You guys could have thought of something. Councilman Harvey, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Saucedo?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Councilman Malcolm.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes. We're on 11F. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve supplement number 5 with Stanley Consultants for the expanded engineering services for the high-strength waste receiving station project in the amount of $194,355. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Harvey with a second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Your Honor. John, do you anticipate?
evening.
Excuse
Good
me.
evening, John.
John Cook, Director of your Water and Resource Recovery Facility. Hopefully that name will take on new meaning very soon.
Excuse me. John, when this project is complete, do you feel like we'll be ready to take action and start construction if the council so chooses, obviously? Or is there other things hanging in the fire, so to speak?
Oh, no. Yeah, this is ready to go. We're ready to go to bid. We'll start building. We'll order the machine, the turbo T42 separator machine. Once we do that, we have customers that have been ready since last January to come to the facility. So, yeah, we're ready to build, ready to bring it on. Probably have a soft start, soft open, as retail people call it. It's things like that, but we'll start slow, but then we're ready to roll.
What do you think the timeline is for completing this portion?
Well, that varies. It depends on how the winter goes this year. If we go to bid and we get everything ready to go in November, and it's a really nice winter, and we can pour concrete and foundations and things, we'll work as long as we can pour concrete, and then we'll start inside work. There is a lot of inside work to do. Hopefully, we'll take them most of the winter, so they stay busy and they keep going. And then by the time spring comes and we're ready to finish up, we'll have everything ready to go. So I don't imagine you'll get buildings up and everything this winter. That's just, a little wishful thinking on my part, I guess. But we'll, May would be great. I think May, June type of thing. Midsummer, mid-spring.
Thank you.
Late
That's all
summer.
I had.
A lot of it has weather.
Any other? Santos, go ahead.
So in this engineering fee that we have for $194,000, what all are we getting as far as time commitments through the project execution time? Is that something that we're getting from engineering and saying, hey, they're going to give us all the drawings, the schematics, we see everything, but they're not in the execution and the construction and the startup phase, or where?
They particularly have several things that they will continue to do through the project. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
know what are we getting for that? So,
You want a list? I can give you a list.
well, just if you can kind of briefly give me that. So,
But we are not having full-on,
so they're not like a turnkey, is what I'm asking.
no.
That's
no.
that's what I
We're
wanna
doing a
know.
lot of this ourselves because we have run projects ourselves. So we don't really need a whole lot of hand-holding on that end of it. We will have final walkthrough. We will have, I think, 2 change orders, I think, or something along those lines that they'll come and assist with and different things or whatever. And shop drawings and things of that nature to, when it really gets technically more than, when we need an engineer. But otherwise, we'll be doing all the construction managing ourselves.
I guess what I was trying to get at was what was this supplement really going to give us that we're not already having that we initially had?
The supplement paid basically to move the site from one place to the next and make it the bigger site that it is.
Okay.
What happened was we got it into when we first envisioned this and we started kind of playing around to see where we could do it, we thought we had a nice spot for it, and it just ended up really being crammed into a certain spot, and we were trying to fit things in. And I actually went to some place that was running one of these in Pennsylvania, and they said, "You're not building it big enough." They go, "The one thing we wish we had done the first time was to build it bigger. So before you spend money and build it in the wrong spot and build it too small, build it big now and do it right now." So that was invaluable for me to hear. And so we made a lot of changes. We actually cut a lot of money out by not having to use extra tanks. We had used existing tanks, existing infrastructure and things like that. That is expensive because we are building right on top of where the old primary clarifiers are.
Yeah.
And the middle of the building kind of goes right in the middle of a wall. So we want to make sure the thing doesn't teeter-totter or split in half. And so there was a lot of geological things that we had to do. I didn't, thank goodness. They did.
I think you showed us this when we went, where you were going to put it and where you're gonna put it now, when we were down there, didn't you?
Yeah, it's going to be
Yes.
right out front.
Right out front in
Yeah.
that big open area.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of my lab chemist. She has a nice view of some nice prairie and trees and stuff. Now she's going to have to look at something else. But it's the better place for it, that's for sure. A lot better traffic flow. Maybe my engineer wants to add on to that.
Well, I do think that it is going to be a lot better facility for the city from the perspective that, as John says, we're kind of wedged in an area where it didn't allow truck queuing. And now we have a lot more truck queuing capacity. And, there's a lot of excitement in the region for this facility to come online because of the separator equipment that John's talking about. And we should see a lot of traffic once it's open, and the tipping fees and everything, of course, will help pay all of this off. So that's kind of an overview of the whole situation.
Okay.
Thank you, Jay. Any other questions?
I just one minor one, because you guys just said it a couple of times, but I'm looking at your conservative expectation, and then what you basically said you're going to start out with revenue. So technically, you have a waiting list of people that want to give you money.
Yep.
Okay, I'm good.
You all right with that?
I'm good with that. Thank you, John.
I'm all right with that.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, everybody.
They want to give you waste, not money first.
Well, yeah, yes, that's true.
Okay.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11G. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve a rental contract with Superior Seawall for the use of the harbor dredge. The City of Muscatine only uses the dredge 4 to 6 weeks out of the year. Superior Seawall is willing to pay $6,000 for a 40-hour week to rent our dredge. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Councilman Harvey, will you second?
Certainly.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Harvey. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
I have
Oh,
one question.
sorry, go ahead.
Have we ever rented this before?
We have not rented it before.
So I'm sure we have a contract or something of some sort so it doesn't get damaged, and hours that it's used, and
We do.
verification that
I'm sorry, it also says if they want overtime, how much?
Yeah, I was reading the overtime, it's just how many hours is the rentals?
They're required for all repairs, maintenance. We'll do a full walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, I mean, I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, they approached us, they saw it sitting on the harbor, and I think it was originally intended to make the city some money. They were gonna take it all over the place, and it never did, so. This is a good opportunity, I think, to use it. We dredge about 2 weeks out of the year.
It's good, we should do that more, thank you.
Thank you. Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11H. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Gongol Associates in the amount of $24,710 plus shipping for the purchase of 2 grit classifiers for the water pollution control plant. 2 bids were received and Gongol was the low bid. There's $25,000 budgeted for this expense. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Harvey with a second by Councilman Brackett. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $47,171 to Bryant Roofing for the replacement of the rear section of Public Works roof. This was the only bid received, and we did budget $49,530 for it. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Brockert with a second by Councilman Harvey. Is there any discussion?
One question, what kind of roof is that?
Good evening, Mayor and
Good
Council.
evening.
Rubber roof, I believe.
So it's like a membrane in there?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. It's replacing what is there with something similar, but newer.
How much square footage is that?
Oh, you're getting me on technical. I don't know. I can get that for you if you want.
I'm just surprised that we only got 1 bid for that, and
We were too. The other 2 people that we talked to are just so busy that they didn't feel like they could get that to us in a timely manner, and it's leaking right now. If you've been to our building,
Yep,
we've got
I
water, so that's why.
appreciate it, thank you.
Go ahead.
So-
What's the life expectancy of a new roof?
This type of roof, I think the warranty, we were just talking about this before the meeting, I think it's 25-year warranty.
Okay.
But I can confirm that for you if you'd like.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
if you would, please.
Go ahead.
Are they tearing off the original roof and kind of starting from scratch?
Yes,
Good. With the proper drainage slope and
correct. Yes. I think everything is there. It's just a matter of this membrane is so old that it's just cracked and
My
beyond
exper-
repair.
My experience with flat roofs is it always puddles away from the drains.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you pour a patio, there's always a bird bath right in the middle of it.
Correct.
The membrane roofs are like rubber. It's actually a really fine, and then they basically put it on top, and then they heat it, and then it's like a hair dryer, and then they seal it and roll it back over. And it's there's like an insulation underneath that,
I've seen
and then they make it so you can
Liquid
walk on it.
insulation.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Well,
Brian.
I have one minor
Go
question.
ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. Brian, are we hopefully gonna have this done before the winter season?
Oh, we hope so. I
That's
think
the
if you approve this tonight, we would start them working on this and getting ready tomorrow, ordering materials and everything else. So they did assure us that they could get it done as soon as we can get them to it. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Brian.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11J. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to issue a purchase order to Bushman Excavating in the amount of $74,400 for the 2018 pavement crushing. This was the only bid received. The estimated amount was $75,000. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Fitzgerald with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Any discussion?
Just one question.
Should have stayed up here, Brian.
So I remember we talked about this in budget as far as the funding for that, but I also asked about the rebar, the material that's saved in that. Who gets to keep that? Do we keep that or do they keep that?
I don't
Because
know.
there's gonna be quite a bit when we start talking about how
Yeah.
much we've taken out.
Yeah, good question. I'll find out and get that back to you. Sorry, I don't know that right now.
That's fine, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
then, same question as on the last one, is the number of bids, is it normal that we would, on this particular type of project?
On
that
this,
there-
there's not many people that have a mobile crushing system.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's part of the problem.
Okay.
Thank you. Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11K. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the updated drug and alcohol policy for the Transit Department. The FTA has directed that policy for transit employees be separated from the drug testing policy for the other employees. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Harvey with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Any discussion?
I just wanna know, I mean, how are they separating them? I mean, what kind of testing are they doing? That's different than what we have now.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Really, we're not changing anything about the way that we do the testing. We are already in compliance with the percentages and required amounts of testing. The FTA just has, there are some different rules for under FTA than there are under the other testing pools.
So is it
And the-
pre-screening or is it,
I'm sorry,
is it
what?
pre-screening differences or is it just,
It's in the number of employees that have to be tested each year. And when we had an audit here in August, and they just didn't like that our policy was combined with the rest of it and preferred that it was separated and in the format that they prefer. So there's no substantial change and no change in the processes that we use, just the way that it's written.
And that was a federal mandate?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. Your Honor, Stephanie, do you do random drug testing whereby you just pull somebody out of a bus and say, come on, we're gonna go?
We do random testing for the transit employees under the Federal Transit Authority. We do random testing under the Federal Motor Carrier program for the other employees who hold CDLs, and we do random testing for the police department.
Okay.
And those are 3 separate pools, and we have a consortium that we belong to that does the drawing for us.
Okay, thank
Through
you.
by state, isn't it?
Yes, through by state.
Thank you.
Councilman Malcolm?
I just have I saw in here it says for sworn police officer. Does that include the police chief too?
Yes, it does.
Okay, I just thought of one, no.
3 times?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're on 11L. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to issue a purchase order to Jim Hawk Trailer in the amount of $40,077.13 for the replacement of floors in trailer number 19 and number 25. Transportation costs would not make it feasible to request bids outside of the area. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Second, Your Honor.
We have a motion by Councilman Malcolm with a second by Councilman Brackett. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have some questions, a couple of them.
Come on up, Dave.
Come on down.
Good evening.
Hi there. So it's a two-part question. Like one, based on how many loads these trailers carry per day, you know, they give me a lot of stuff here. So I'm going to assume you're not going to send both of them at the same time. You're going to
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Out of the 3 trailers, 1 is typically a spare,
Okay.
so we'll send that out first and do 1 at a time.
What's the turnaround time for this to be done? Do you know?
We're hoping a couple weeks by the time they order the
Per
floors.
trailer?
Yeah,
Okay.
which will be all right with that.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out how you're going to keep your pace of transporting with the handicap that you're running with.
Yep.
Okay.
That should work.
Okay.
Anything else? Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11M, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Ray Rig Pacific Company in the amount of $6,059.20 for 112 95-gallon trash carts. This is the only bid requested, as they are the same carts that the city currently uses. This expense will be taken from the refuse budget. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Brockert with a second by Councilman Harvey. Any discussion?
Just one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Are these replacements or are they additional?
It's a combination, some that are being broken are being replaced, and some additional requests, whether it's upsizing or new requests.
Okay.
When you said that there was only one group that replied, is that the same group that we purchased them from originally?
Yes, we only requested one quote due to the fact they do carry a 10-year warranty, and we want to stick with that vendor. They're the same carts.
So in the purchase that we just made right now, the question that Councilman Harvey asked you as far as the percentages of what was being new from damaged, is that under warranty?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Yes. Are we sitting fairly well as the other sizes of trash
Yes,
carts
we're actually
go?
finding from the original onset of the automated collection, a lot of people are trading in their smaller ones for the bigger ones.
Okay.
It's a
Thank you.
good thing.
They ought to be recycling more.
That's right.
And going down in size, not going up.
I thought this, oh yeah, you're right. Opposite. That's a bad thing. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
But you're doing a good job, Dave.
Yes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. 11N, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to approve an agreement between the City of Muscatine and the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry for management of the Convention and Visitors Bureau. As requested by City Council, there was some additional information attached to the agenda, and you could see on that if you clicked on it. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Saucedo. Any discussion?
Yes, I do have some questions.
Lots of discussion.
Okay. Greg Jenkins is with us from,
Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
that's
Greg
right,
Jenkins.
GMCCI. Go ahead, Councilman
Okay.
Brackett.
So, I like that we got the report. I would ask so what is on moving forward, are we looking at monthly reports or are we looking at quarterly reports? Because I know in the contract, the way that it's stated, it says or, which is kind of weird for both of us.
I'd like to, quarterly.
And in those quarterly reports, do you plan to have the data separated by months?
We can certainly do that. We get monthly reports, and it's very possible.
Okay, that's what I would like to see. So, and then in the future, I think that when we look at the contract next year, maybe we can clarify that wording so that it says quarterly reports instead of monthly or quarterly, because that just added confusion to the whole thing, I feel. I would like to, I think that the report, that we got, while, it maybe was, I don't know how ready you guys were to do it. And so I would like to see the format cleaned up in the future if possible. There's a lot of repetition throughout it. The statistics and things, the metrics that are in there, I didn't expect to see them until I got to them, because it talks about some of that information at the front with no reference to the fact that there's anything at the back of it. So some kind of, some indexing would be good.
Yep.
And one of the things in there, the visitor's guide, it said, and I like the current visitor's guide, I have reviewed it, but it said that it hadn't been updated since 2015, and I was just curious what What's the future intention
We
as
ought
far
to
as
be doing
updating?
them at least every 2 years, and
Okay.
sooner so this time we ran a shorter run, so we'll be able to, we'll be renewing again come this winter.
Okay, perfect. So it's you talk about the different places you distribute that, and so there's the Iowa Visitor Centers, Muscatine lodging locations. It says local attractions in Muscatine. What does it mean by that?
What, Jody? The person that actually does it is here. We might as well ask her.
Great.
So, just off the top of my head, the History and Industry Center, Pine Creek Grist Mill,
Okay.
Those type of things. I've tried to get them out to attractions as well as visit attractions, and the hospitality meetings, as you can see in the report as well, we try to get those folks as well out to the attractions so they can see what's in their own backyard, so they can recommend that to folks that are visiting our community.
Okay, and so on that, the way my preference on the format for that in the future would be, these are the locations it's distributed, maybe even rough numbers on that, just to kind of see what we're going through, so we can see, when you go out and check in those locations, are they burning through those things? Are they needing to be re-upped on them? And if one of us visits those locations and we see that they're empty, we can say, hey, by the way, this was one of the places that you mentioned you drop them off, so we need to see more out there. You mentioned the hospitality committee. Yeah, I wouldn't sit down yet. You mentioned the hospitality committee, and what is that? I hadn't heard about that until I read the report.
So the hospitality, it's a hospitality meeting, and what that constitutes is people from hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts, restaurants, attractions, anyone that would really interact with visitors to our community. And so the idea of those, and they were started before I came in, the idea was to give an update on what the CVB has been doing, and so also to let them know about some upcoming events so they can promote that as well. And then again, we started having them at different locations. So folks that, especially like those that work in hotels, sometimes don't necessarily live here. So getting them out to those attractions so they can recommend those. That's something that we'd like to grow for sure, and then add more to it and make it more meaningful for those folks coming and get more folks there.
Okay, and how do you reach out to them, and where is there? Do you have a schedule for that?
So those we try to have quarterly. So the next one we're planning at it hasn't been, the date hasn't been set, but it will be sometime in the next month at the Discovery Center. Okay. And the last one we had was at Pine Creek Grist Mill. Before that was the Art Center. Before that was the History and Industry Center. And before that we had it at the Hampton Inn.
And if I wanted to attend one of those, how would I go about
I can put
getting
you on the email list. So I send an email out to folks. But yeah, I could add the entire council to that. That'd be great. I know Mr. Malcolm has joined us at one of those at the Pine Creek Grist Mill.
Okay. How many typically come to one of those meetings?
It's not a great deal. We've had, I'd have to go back and look because we have the sign-up sheets, but I would say less than 20.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. That answers that. So yeah, and then there were some things I'd made notes on, like I said at the beginning here, and then I got the answers later on.
I see. Yeah.
And so that's one of the things where if you go back through this, before the next report, you might notice some of those things. That because one of the questions I had as I was going through was, it said flyers were distributed to the soccer tournament organizer, and then it says CX. Was that referencing a?
I think that was the flyer.
That's a typo.
Yeah, we originally had copies of the flyers, and I don't think that turned out very well when we were making it.
Okay.
But yes, your suggestions are
okay.
Are
and
very
then,
good.
So I would be curious too to get some status updates as you go along. So you're talking about the development of short videos for social media. Do you have anything out there right now that is being pushed as far as videos?
So we did, before I came on board and around the time I started, they were in the middle of a video project. Mm-hmm. Those need to be updated. Some of the, like a restaurant I know for sure that is in one of the videos has now closed.
Okay.
There's a store in one of the videos that has moved locations. So just updating those, that's one of the things we want to do. And the short videos, those are going to be more kind of on this, like geared towards social media. And so we do have a list of those locations. And if you, in the document that you have, we recently, I think last week, I sent the final submission for a grant for Travel Iowa to hopefully pay for those videos.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd love to get updates on those as you go through.
No, I'm sorry. The answer is no. We don't have videos out right now.
Great. So that's a goal.
Yeah,
what that
absolutely.
Is right now.
And
okay.
something, yeah.
The other thing, then down a little further, still on the first page, and this is where if we had, there is a little bit of reference that we're in section 1, but as in the future ones, if we can get some additional section declarations there, so we can say where we're at in the document. But you talk about work is underway to update current commercials, to create new commercials to potentially air in the St. Louis cable market. How much work have we done on that?
So as far as we're airing them, so we've just gotten a cost for that, and we've gotten some markets, and our marketing company, McDaniels, has, they have someone in the traffic department that's gotten some information for us, so we have a potential quote for that.
Okay, so, and this would be the same commercials talked about in the previous paragraph?
The commercials, yes, the updated ones specifically for television.
Okay, when was the last, the St. Louis stuff is all future goal, not
yes,
anything previous?
It is. That's what we've,
okay.
What we've done so far is just look into that as a potential area to air those, because if you look at, when we were talking about marketing, that's one of the geographical locations that we've chosen to target for folks coming about 4 hours away.
Okay. Is there any other markets that we've looked at targeting besides St. Louis?
So last time these commercials aired, they aired on KWQC. And so we thought, Greg, actually, we were talking and looking at going outside of that area. Mm-hmm. So that's that's what we've gotten information on. But we would be, we'd love to look at other geographical areas that are specifically in the McDaniels marketing information.
Okay. So this would be the first time we'd be pushing outside of like the Quad City area.
Absolutely.
And so it'd be kind of a test market.
Yep.
Okay, great. Let's see. Yeah, there's a section on page 3, and there's not page numbers, so I'm just roughly saying page 3.
Okay.
The develop and maintain tracking instruments to measure results of marketing efforts.
Page 6. That's on page 6.
What's that?
That's on page 6.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's
page
what I was going to say.
6, he said.
The develop and the maintain, because that's what I was going to ask on. No, but when you're asking about it, it's on page 6, not page 3.
Yeah. Okay. I have no idea what page it is because it's.
I get what you're talking about. It's identified in the goal sheet that we had agreed to report on, and then the actual data is back towards the back. It needs to be identified. See Appendix C or something to that effect.
Exactly. Right. So, and I got the question about the hospitality committee. There's some repetitive things. I don't know if it was intentional or just typos on the events and attractions promoted by Muscatine CVB, March 2017 through June. McDaniels ad work. There's the second Saturdays is listed twice, or no, there's second Saturdays and second Sundays, I guess. And then there's one where it says second Saturday, June towards the bottom, but I don't know if that was just a...
So those were 2017, 2018. So those have run two different contracts.
Okay, so then on that, if you look at it, there are things towards the bottom that are 2018, then there's 2017, then so things like that I would like to see separated out in a way that, if you're going to do a timeline, that would be good, because otherwise it's kind of confusing. And that, there's a lot of data here that's good, but the way it's laid out is difficult, and that's kind of what I'm kind of hammering in. Mm-hmm. The back, I'm not sure which page it is, but where there's events and attractions promoted by Muscatine CVB independent of McDaniels, what type of promotion was done there?
So most of those would be either something on our website or just on Facebook.
Okay.
So I'd have to, go. These are just ones that we added, but I just kind of went through Facebook and looked at those things that we promoted, and some of them have dual promotions, but we could, definitely keep track of that and give you more information on that.
Yeah, that
It's a
would be
good suggestion.
And there's another spot too where I'm gonna guess it's a typo, which is on the page where it's talking about the CVB metrics and CVB website visitors for 2017, 2018. It's got 107,919.
Where's that at?
I saw that too.
CVB website, middle of the metrics page that looks like this.
Yeah.
Middle of that page, almost dead center, and then drop about an inch. Actual visitors to the website, 2017, 2018 says 107,919. I'm assuming that's a typo.
No.
Because you've got 23,000, 18,000, and then 107,000.
Yeah, it's went up substantially.
Visitors, and then the goal for next year is 60,000. I would like to see more information on that metric if I'm going to believe it, because that's
I'd
not.
be happy to share. That metric comes from the reporting that comes out of the city's website, from Civic Plus.
Okay. Okay.
But I can.
Because I went and looked at it myself because I didn't believe it either. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a glitch. I'm not, I mean, even with additional advertising, unless, that just seems, considering the other things that have not gone up much at all, that doesn't make sense. So, but if you're pulling that, if it's coming from Civic Plus, I mean, that's not on you. That's on.
We can send that to you for sure, or you can stop over. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And then how often does the board meet? Is it monthly?
Monthly, unless there's like this. We were there's a board meeting. Yes, monthly. This Wednesday, there was a meeting out of town that I had.
Okay. And with the board, I think I've kind of gotten some information that maybe there's at least one person that hasn't been there for quite a few times. Are you having issues with attendance at all? Are we in a position with that? Is there anybody that we need to talk to and find out if they're still interested in?
We probably do.
Remaining?
Yep.
Because I know that we had when we placed someone on the board recently, there was, I think, at least two more people that were also very interested in that board. So I would like to have active members on it. And so Absolutely. If you are in a position where you're not having people show up, we should look at the number of times they've missed, talk to them, find out if they're interested. And I'm not asking for names right now. That would be a conversation for you to go have with them. But, if we need to replace somebody on that board and they're willing to step down, then that would make it easier. And if they're not attending, I would guess they're willing to step down. So,
at some point they just need to step down.
Yeah. So. Well, if they've not attended in a certain number of times, I believe we have a policy in place that they just get they get removed and replaced. So, that's all the things that I have right now.
Okay, Councilman Malcolm.
Hi there. Yeah. Thank you. Oh Lord, I was going to send for pizza. I just have to give him a little hard time. About the visitor guide again. Let's start it off with, I see where we talked about, after my lovely trip to Poland, I pointed out that we might be missing an opportunity of having the visitor guide translated into the language, at least for our sister cities. Have we went any further of talking with their embassies to see if they would be willing to translate the visitor guide for us free of charge so we could run that?
Not yet.
Okay, so next thought is, have we thought about using the visitor guide and put it in a digital format where it can be published over our Facebook or internet page for us?
We do have that on visitmuscatine.com. There's a place to download our newest visitor's guide. And a lot of times I will send that electronically. So for instance, when we had the college search kickoff here in town, Parks and Rec sent me their email list, so I reached out to them directly and then sent them the visitor's guide online as well as the links to our website and Facebook page.
Okay.
So it's a great tool.
Are we getting good response with this though?
It's something that we do send out and we have availability to send out.
Okay. Well, I'm curious because I think that a lot of our sister cities I think 2 weeks ago, there were people from the Ukraine here, and them and I chatted, and one of them had the visitor guide, he could read it, but the other ones could not. And once again, I was sad. I mean, but we're willing to
Oh,
promote.
that's why that's in there, to have a look at it. It's aspirational, it's intended to, it's one of our goals moving forward, is at least understand those costs, and how to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that would be a big help, and I'm reasonably sure the embassies, especially for our sister cities, we're more than happy to do it, just to help us out and help them out. Thank you. That's it for I get, because this young man answered every question in the book, but okay.
All right. Anyone else? Go ahead.
So, I appreciate all the work you guys are doing, Craig. And I had one thing that I wanted to talk about was in regards to your metrics that Kelsey touched on, I'm sorry, and your develop and maintain instruments. It's kind of the same thing, I think, as what you guys are talking about, and your website traffic, your Facebook likes. When we talk about wanting to do that, what my biggest piece is we have an investment, for example, on the McDaniels contract, I think was for $27,400. When we put that in, what I'm after is saying, and I'm not sure how we would get that number, is $27,000 was invested, $2,000 a month, and our increase in sales from hotels, from business, from restaurants, I don't know how you would get that number, but something that we could say in the end, we had this as a return on our investment. Our city is growing, our business is growing, our commercial, more people are coming to visit at the hotel. I know you can't take credit for all of those things because there's a lot of dynamics, but what I'm getting at is how do we, from somebody in our council, how do we know that we are getting the best return on our investment for what we are providing? And I know you guys are doing that, and I think it's just from what Kelsey's talking about, is how do we get that? So when we make those approvals and we have, the customers for us, the city, say, hey, we are getting the best bang for our buck. Because I believe we're doing that, but it is kind of something that is not something that we can just see.
This is kind of a movement that nonprofits have made 10 years ago. Instead of just reporting to their grant sources, we held, 15 groups and this many people came. But now take it a step further, and what was the outcome? Yeah. So
that is rough.
And those are hard to come up with.
So
but
I know.
they're the most meaningful.
Yeah, it is. So I mean, for example, I'm just going to throw out, you guys have the soccer tournament. Let's say we had, XYZ soccer tournament, and from, random polling, 5 out of the, 10 groups stayed here. Okay, out of that, ideally was probably going to stay here, had a restaurant, they probably ate, they stayed at the hotel, they had some taxes, and the businesses all were affected. One tournament could have such a ripple effect on other businesses that we don't really capture that, and that's what I'm trying to ask on. Is there some way we can get a metric or something that we could come up with and saying, how do we get a return on the investment? Because $27,000 is not that big of a deal for me. It's about what is it really to the end user, which is the city.
Well, and then part of that is marketing, and so that the return on your investment for marketing is always a tough pill to swallow. But one of the things we have talked about, and Jody and I talked about it this week, is that our neighbors all around us, she was just at a meeting this week where they had the same conversation and they struggle with that. But when we were at Soccer Search last year, it's like, why don't we give them a coupon? And you turn the coupon on, and if the companies or those vendors will turn them in, we will at least know who took advantage of what we were doing.
Then
doesn't mean it was because of the contract with McDaniels, but at least we had that touch to help make that happen.
If that's a metric that you guys can start off with, then that's fine. I mean, something even if it's some barcode that you put on the CVV saying, hey, use this, and then scan that at the hotel, and here's 5% off or 10%, something that we can come back in and say, okay, we are definitely getting something. That's what I'm after.
We too.
Okay.
It's a struggle to see that return.
Councilman Harvey, did you have anything?
Just a quickie, do you target any travel-related magazines?
What do you mean target?
Well, for ads. What I'm thinking specifically that I get all the time is the AAA magazine for Iowa, Minnesota, because they always have features in there for various Iowa cities.
One of the ads we recently purchased was through the Iowa Co-op, so that'll be for 2019, was, I don't have it at the top of my head, but it's one of those Iowa magazines, like There's like a combo. It's not our Iowa, it's something different, but I can get that to you. We did purchase that.
Okay, because,
And, yeah.
and sometimes they even have features, like they will have the 5 places in Iowa to visit, you know, that type of thing. And then another magazine I get that is somewhere along that line is the AARP, because they put out a monthly bulletin, if you will, and also a monthly magazine. And they're not as travel related, obviously, as the AAA magazine is, but they still feature things that, what are day trips that elderly people can take? You know, and I think we're, part of our target, I think, for people visiting Muscatine could be the day trippers.
Definitely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's all
I had one other question.
Okay.
Is there anything that the city can do to assist that we're not doing right now?
Let's get back to you on that one.
Okay. But yeah, keep up the good work. I thank you for the information. This is a step towards what I hope to see in the future, and I appreciate your time here tonight. Thank you.
I just had a question on the finances and how that works, because I've seen some bills come through, and I know we're contracting with you to perform this service like we contract with other places, but are the bills still being ran through the city? That doesn't make, I'm confused by that. Why don't we just give you the amount of money like we do our other vendors, and you pay your bills the way you pay your bills? Like MCSA, you know, we have a contract with them to provide their services, and we give them the $15,000 or whatever it is, and then they pay their staff's checks and mileage and all that. Is there a reason why we're still keeping it in-house instead of just giving you that money and letting you run the contract? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure that I can't speak on behalf of the city. We have been open to doing that and really pushed it harder back in the beginning as we went through the transition with understanding the financial process.
So you're fine with doing it that way?
Well,
I mean, taking it on yourself.
It is an added burden to the director of the CDB to have to follow those processes, because nobody else in our office does that. She's the one that touches those. Our normal processes are you turn it into the finance department, they take care of those bills, and they're paid. So in that regard, there's a little bit more weight on Jody to do that than many of the others. Well, not many. We are not many anyway. But I will have to say, though, that, I mean, just recently we put a new process in place where some of the stuff that Greg would have had to work its way to, I would sign off on it, then Greg has to sign off on it. And now much of that I can just sign off of, and it gets passed through. I mean, we operate within the budget, and so and don't intend to do otherwise. So
It just is odd to me that would be different than any of our other contracts.
I think conversations.
Yes.
If I could just add a little history.
Sure.
Here. The CVB has transitioned several times. It was with the chamber, then it became independent, then it came to the city, and it is a city enterprise fund.
Right.
And it does get 25% of the hotel motel tax, and so we credit that amount into that fund. So it's kind of transitioned. It wasn't until we changed from having a city employee do it, and now it's basically a chamber employee. So it's just still part of that transition. But it started out the way you were saying, but we do have some information when the city does manage the accounts. You know,
So are we making movements towards switching it back?
I don't believe so, because right now we can run financial reports that show how much is being spent for marketing, how much, you know, the specific types of things. The city council approves the budget. So the budget includes the $65,000 allocation to the chamber for the CVB, but there's also the marketing, trying to think, some travel, a number of other things in that budget, and we can run that report and just see where the money is going.
So you're saying there's additional monies on top of this?
The total budget is
114.
And is that's,
Our operating budget for the year is 114, I believe.
For the current, upcoming
This
year,
fiscal
is that
year.
what I?
Yeah.
Yeah. The 25% allocation of the hotel motel, it's based on the prior year's actual hotel motel tax. So they, it's set in advance.
I would
Yeah,
agree. I mean,
it's-
it seems to me like it's odd that we would kind of double manage them. I mean, to me, it seems if we're gonna have a contract with the chamber with the CBB to handle this, or no, sorry, with the chamber to handle the CBB, we would give them the money as we do with the other organizations that we do have similar things with, like the animal shelter and, you know, things like that, where we give them the money, they manage it, they provide us nice reports that detail the things that they've done and show us the results. But I mean, I would say to me, it is a bit confusing as well when we see costs, you know, charges coming through in the bills that we approve, which, I mean, I noticed there were some in there and that I very easily tied back to the chamber, the CBB, I should say, that it's separate from, you know, to me, it's strange that we have all of that kind of blended in that way.
Why don't we put that as an in-depth discussion?
Yeah, so that'd be something I'd like to see in the future, where we discuss cutting that, and, you know, they're responsible for providing us metrics and information, but they manage their money that we set, you know, we set the budget we give them, and then they handle it from there like they do the rest. So that's something I'd like to talk about in a future time.
So, yeah, could we possibly place that on our next in-depth meeting, or one of them in the future? So
One coming up soon.
Yeah, I'd like to see that on a future in-depth.
And then in between.
And obviously with their input to determine whether they, you know, which way they prefer it. I mean, if they don't like that idea, then, you know, then so be it. But
It just seems awkward now, and,
Yeah.
you know, our staff time is spending staff time to do it, and
Yeah,
you guys are spending extra staff time, kind of clunky.
yeah, it's like
Seems like at one time we were doing that, but we were at whatever the allocation was, we gave it to them quarterly, because at one time there was some, I won't say mismanagement, but it was,
Yeah.
it wasn't pretty, and so we basically cut. We could just not pay them the next quarter, and so we still had control over the funding. You didn't just throw $100,000 over to Greg and say, "Here, have a good time."
And you're welcome to come look at the books anytime you want to.
Oh, I know.
yeah.
Maybe,
I'm just saying
We
we
do-
should
I
have
appreciate-
consistency with our other vendors. However, do we pay MCSA once for the whole year, or do we give it to them quarterly or twice a year?
Every one of them is a little different. I think Humane Society is monthly. The chamber, the regular chamber allocation is quarterly. Senior Resources, I believe, is quarterly, maybe monthly, but it's how it was agreed
Sure.
to
Yeah.
each group, yeah.
It does seem to me like it's doubling up on work. I mean, for Jody to decide on what to spend the money on, and then Greg to approve it, and then to send it over here for other Greg to approve it, and then for you to process it, or whoever processes it, you know, I mean, to me, that sounds like a lot of extra work, so.
Otherwise, just hire her directly.
Right, exactly.
We did
So-
that.
I think we should,
What?
We did that.
Right, and it didn't work, so,
okay, so I think we could make that a discussion
Yep.
piece.
Yeah.
works
Yeah,
good.
make it on in depth. That would
Yep.
be good for
So
everybody.
before I give up this,
Yes.
this bully pulpit or whatever you want to call it, I just want to credit Jody for starting to make some traction. We've had a year of transition. Some of it's been uglier, prettier than others. I should phrase it that way. But I do believe we're making some progress. I believe that the traction's being made, the processes are falling in place, and I think we'll be able to start making those steps to put the reports and start seeking out it, because I think there ought to be a demand on return on investment, and that's such a tough pill to find. But before I left, I just want to say I appreciate Jody's hard work in
We
pulling
do
this off.
too, and yours.
And look forward to working with you further. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing nothing else, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The request is approved with all ayes. We're moving on down to communications, number 14. Councilman Malcolm, do you have anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Fitzgerald?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
I won't even say that. Councilman Brockert.
Brackett.
Councilwoman Brockert. I'm
So
all
Mayor-
messed up. Do you see what I have written there?
Kind of a mix.
Which
So
would we
which
go
one of
in?
us do you want? Okay. I have some questions regarding vegetation, an overabundance
Yeah.
of vegetation.
So,
Nope.
Brian, maybe?
Maybe.
Where
Or-
is the
And-
vegetation?
and probably-
Public Works? or-
Probably Jim too.
Yeah. Actually, I've got a couple questions regarding vegetation, Brian. Hopefully you can answer them.
Hopefully I can, yes.
I attended a meeting of the Musserville Friends on Monday, and a question was asked there about getting rid of the weeds or mowing the weeds on the railroad right-of-way. I'll say that 10 times real fast. To whom do we direct the request? Is that through you all? Is that through Rich? Is that
To
someone else?
my knowledge, and I've only been here for a couple of years, that would be through Rich, I believe. But if I'm wrong, I apologize, and we can do that as well. If you're talking about the railroad right-of-way, then it would be their responsibility, the railroad's responsibility to maintain
Okay,
that.
I'll send Greg and Rich a note then.
Okay.
And I have gotten many questions and concerns regarding the grass growing all over on Mississippi Drive, especially the new portion that is opened. Is that mowable now, or are we going to let it go for the rest of the year?
No, it will be mowed. The only problem is the mower to do that is broken. So once that gets fixed, it's in our shop right now. Parks will be mowing that hillside and the riverside, if you will, on top of the area there. So yes, that is scheduled to be mowed.
Okay. And this might have happened before you came along, but there are some folks who are discussing the fact that there is no longer what was called in the old days the high sidewalk. And there are now people walking along in that median between the two lanes,
Okay.
between Lynn and...
They don't have a sidewalk anymore.
Because there's no sidewalk.
You're doing
but
that,
there-
Brett?
But it was my understanding that there was a reason for eliminating the high sidewalk. For one thing, it's way too close to the street.
Yes.
And the other thing is there's now the trail
Correct.
along the river, and they are to use that.
Yes.
So are we going to talk to folks if we find them walking along the median, or?
Well, we
What's the
certainly
problem?
could. I don't know that it's illegal to walk on the median. It's not safe, obviously, or it's not the safest place to walk, but you're correct with the trail provides the walkability now, and then the new sidewalks are the ideal places for people to walk to get where they want to go.
Okay.
Because we had the trail, we did not design another sidewalk there, if that makes sense.
Okay. So the basic thing is it'll be mowed, but we have to get the mower fixed first.
Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. It'll be next week.
Okay.
The parts are in. It's a matter of getting it fixed, and it'll be taken care of soon.
Okay.
Social media, if you're not aware, is blowing up with the high grass and weeds, and we're trying to give as much information to the community as we can about, because we've all been told that, the grass it's new, so we wanted to give it a good root structure before
Correct.
we mow it, and then people show pictures of, well, these are weeds, how much structure do you want them to get?
Yeah, it
And-
served a purpose for erosion control and just ground stabilization. Yes, that purpose has been served. We are aware of that.
Okay.
And if people have questions, I realize social media is a platform for people to talk. They can also contact Public Works, and we'd be happy to answer those questions or take their concerns or talk to them apart from social media as well. So just so people at home know that.
Okay.
We're here for them for that.
And one last thing,
Yes.
is there any update for 25th Street? Kevin Curry was here several weeks ago, and
Yeah, I sent Greg some information about that. I don't know if he shared it with council yet or not, but that was the direction that I took. So he does have that. We have not set a timeline yet, but I did share with him the costs associated with doing seal coat or doing asphalt overlay, which was requested at last meeting. I think Greg's been busy this past week with conferences and other things. I haven't spoken with him, but I know that I did give him that information, and so he should have it. And I'm assuming he'll share it with you tomorrow during his weekly update.
All right, thank you
And
so
has anybody
much.
reached out to Mr. Curry to?
Well, when I spoke with Mr. Curry previously, before the meeting that he mentioned I talked to him, he was satisfied with what we talked to him about doing the tree sap on the road and trying to keep the dust down and grading it. So I think we're okay. He has my number. We do talk occasionally. So as of now, I haven't heard any other complaints from him. So I think we're okay with that point. And it'll just be, once you get the numbers, it'll be a council decision whether we step outside the matrix and do something different for this situation or not. That's your guys' call. So I would say this year's budget is essentially spent on the contract that we have, but going forward for next year's budget, there's an opportunity there to do something different and do that road if you so choose.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
While you're up there, if you could put some kind of answer together for Mr. Burr.
Yeah, yes, we'll do that.
Thank you. Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Don't go too far.
Okay.
Don't go too far.
Go ahead, Councilman Saucedo.
Okay, I have 3 things, and one of them's, a couple of them for you. So, Hauser and Stewart Road,
Yes.
we're having the patchwork, the alternating traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Got a few calls on that. How much work do we have left to continue, or when can we say, all right, one road is open, full, no more alternating traffic? We're having a lot of issues where people are
On those
taking
two,
multiple, yeah.
the update that I received this afternoon was that they have finished the south side of Stewart. They still have to do the north side patches. Weather hasn't not cooperated, obviously, the last few days. Once those are removed and poured back, I think they have 2 more sets to do on Stewart, and then they'll go to Hauser, and then hopefully finish Hauser soon.
Go ahead.
What? I should stop. Go ahead.
Is there any value in maybe having them have a flagger during high traffic times? I mean, there's times where there's multiple cars that probably could be more efficient when their traffic is coming back, and then other times I see vehicles come right through and then they have to pull off because they're already in the middle
Yeah.
too far. And so
We can address that with the contractor. Traffic control is their responsibility per the contract, but we can discuss that with them and try to have them handle it better.
More of a safety concern for me, not
Sure.
so much the fact that it's, having the traffic come back and forth, but it truly is not a safe environment when they have no flagger on any of those.
Yep, understood.
Okay, so my next question is, the riverfront. We move that out as far as the timing to open up Mississippi Drive. How far do we move it out, or what, can we have a date, or Jim can give you a hand signal and give you next week it's opening up type thing?
I'm fairly confident that next week we should be able to open it. We gave the contractor a little extra time because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
They had quite a punch list to go through. Obviously, my goal has still been to open it and then not have to close it right away again. So we met with them this morning. The direction to them is to do all the punch list items that would require lane closures. So there still are some work that MPW has to do with some light pole bases and putting on lights that will require lane closures. There are a few items as far as some storm sewer cleanouts and things like that that would require lane closures. Those should be able to get completed next week, and I'm hoping that by Friday we could open it. We have not scheduled a ribbon cutting yet. That's still to be determined when we might do that. We may open it and then do a ribbon cutting a little bit later as kind of a perfunctory type of thing. But yeah, the goal is to get it. The goal's always been to open it as soon as possible, but not to open it and then close it, and then open it and then close it. We did that problem on the other half. We'd like to get this half open and just be done.
So where's it gonna be open, from where to where?
It would be open from Mulberry all the way out. So the only work that still has to be done is on 2nd Street from Mad Creek towards Oak Street. There's a lot of underground work that had to happen in that location, so I know it seems like they're not doing anything, but they're there every day working. Staging is an issue on that section because we're trying to keep access open to Family Dollar and H&I, so it's been a lot of back and forth to try to work with everybody to not make everybody mad at the same time, but only let mad a little bit sometimes. So that's progressing. We're hopeful that by October 1st we can open Oak Street at 2nd, and it'll kind of be like a 3-lane, if you a 3-way, so you could come down Oak Street or go out Oak Street, but if you wanted to go to Dollar or Family Dollar, you can only go the one way in because they'll have to pay the other side of that lane. So they're actually ahead of schedule, believe it or not, for the timeline that was given to them for the contract. And we feel that's progressing fairly well, and so I think, and we're happy with the quality of the work and the work that we're getting. So I think, you know, we're coming to the end of construction season, and by the end of construction season, we should be done with that section, and then we'll have the roundabout next year. But this, by the end of, I would say by Thanksgiving, we should be open all the way from the bridge down to, or through Broadway and down to Grandview, I hope.
Say that again, by when?
Before Thanksgiving,
Okay.
I hope.
Okay, I'm good.
The contract goes into December, so but we'd like to have it done before then.
Good. I appreciate it. Thank you. Brian.
That it?
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all you had?
One last thing. I have, not for you, Brian, I'm sorry. I am going to be with Kelsey on, in a dunk tank on September 29th for a Crossroads Carnival fundraiser.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time, but I will be there from 1 to 2. And obviously, Crossroads is a great program for disabilities, turning disabilities into abilities as far as what they do. So I think it's a great program, and both me and Kelsey will be there on September 29th at 1424 Hauser Street. So if you want to get some good dunks, and I hope you have a bad aim, we will be there. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Harvey?
Yes, I have a couple questions, excuse me. I have a couple questions about Begg Street work.
What street?
Begg, B-E-G-G.
Oh, that one.
I've seen it before.
I'm assuming these are for me?
Yes.
Okay.
Begg Street's only a block long,
Yeah.
basically, off of 4th. It's been under construction for quite a while now. Refresh my memory, is that the city doing construction on there, or is it Muscatine Power and Water laying the new water mains or whatever?
On Begg Street?
Yeah.
You stumped me. I'm not sure. Jim, do you?
I drove by it on the way to here, and the east half is not there. The west half is sort of there. So there's
Why don't you
been,
check on it, get back to him tomorrow?
Well, we'll have to, because I'm not sure what.
the bottom line question is,
There's no
when will
pavement
that
on
be
it. Okay.
completed?
Begg Street, and when will it be done? Okay, yeah, I'll have to check into that. I know Power and Water's doing some work associated with the West Hill separation in that area. Lynn Street, I think they're working on, but I'll find out about Begg Street.
Okay, you could just send me an email or
Yep,
something.
we'll do.
Thank
That's
you.
all?
That's all
Thank
I
you.
had. Oh, I know what that is. That's sewer work.
Councilman Brackett?
Sewer work.
Okay.
W sewer work.
All right. I think most of the questions I had about streets got answered already.
Well, that's good.
I will say, and you don't have to come back up for this, I will say, please, let's not have, and this isn't you, Kevin's not here, but this comment is to him and you, let's not have any more press releases about it being open until it's open first, and then a press release about whatever kind of celebration we want to have that it's open. But let's get it open before we actually tell anybody it's going to be open. That way we don't have to backtrack on that. It does look like there's still a lot of cosmetic issues. I noticed as I was walking past today that there's a big drop off from the sidewalk down on Iowa, right along in there. Okay, all right. So things like that. I haven't walked down the closed section because that's closed, so I don't go down there. There have been a lot of people, though. I've noticed people pulling into the spots. And this is for the public as much as it is for anyone else listening in here. People pulling forward into the spots the wrong direction on Mississippi Drive in that short section next to the brew. Please don't hit people. The number of people I've seen nearly taken out by a car as they're crossing the street because it's a closed road and people come flying in at high speed the wrong direction into those parking spaces.
I mean, people doing a U-turn into a parking place?
Not doing a U-turn, coming straight across Mississippi Drive, or on Mississippi Drive, crossing Iowa, swerving to the left.
And getting into one of those spots?
And then going into one of those parking spots.
Wow.
Two of my, just this week, I've seen two of my coworkers nearly get taken out by cars because they're crossing a street they expect to not have traffic on because it's closed. And somebody coming towards them from that side doesn't have any legal path to take. And they cross straight across and then nearly hit people crossing the street. So, yeah, I do have a photograph of a car that did that if anybody would like to ask me for it, just so you know. And I will, because they were inches away from hitting one of my coworkers. I'll leave that alone now. So back on the what Santos had mentioned about the dunk tank, also Chief Talkington's going to be in that dunk tank as well. So,
What time is the chief there?
hey, I'm first. I am first. 11
I
o'clock.
like you.
Yeah. If I'm going to be out there, you know, because I don't know how, you know, on the 29th, I don't expect it to be particularly warm.
I want to support the police.
But I believe it's I don't remember which order other than I'm first, because then I have to get out of town. But I think the three of us are one after another. Okay, all right. So I go first, then the chief, then Councilman Salcedo.
Save the best for last.
There you go.
Yeah, and it's a fun event. It's a fun event for a really good cause. Last year I was not in the tank. I ran the dunk tank. This year, like I said, I have another event actually a wedding I have to attend that day, so I will have to get out of town and can't stay for the rest of it. But I hope that we can raise a lot of money for them. So
I think the high that day is supposed to be 62.
yeah.
Fill that up with hose water.
And that'll be I'll you know, if people have a good enough aim, maybe I can warm up the water for you.
Oh, whatever.
Just wear your long johns, you know.
Oh, that won't help. That won't help. So anyway, the other thing I had a citizen contact me expressing concern about people that are walking at night, and this is somebody that delivers the paper, so they're out at the wee hours of the morning. People wearing very dark clothing while they're out walking or walking their dog or whatever they're doing. And you know, he asked if there was anything that we might be able to do about that, and I said, there's not, you know, I don't think that we can regulate what people wear. So I do want to just mention that so that people are aware that, you know, if you're out walking at night, cars can't see you if you're not reflective. So, you know, maybe consider wearing some reflective clothing, something along those lines. If anybody else has any suggestions along, you know, on that topic, I'm happy to turn it over. That's all I've got, though. Thank you. Oh, wait, one more thing. Just remind everybody, I'm not going to have my office hours this Saturday because I am traveling.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, did you have anything today?
Not tonight.
Okay. I just had a couple things. Also on September 29th is River City Throwdown to benefit the Muscatine Center for Social Actions Domestic Violence Shelter, and they will have 12 hours of music in the red, in the red brick building. So that's going to be, I mean, you guys can just have fun all day long then. Also, I wanted to remind everybody, the very next day is the Muscatine Police and Fire Department softball game. So it starts at 3 o'clock at Musser Park, and they're going to have all kinds of kids' activities and fun things to do, and then the game starts at 4. So come on and root for your favorite team, and all the proceeds go to the Muscatine Humane Society, so it's a win-win. Next, I wanted to just share that next week there is no council meeting. It's the fourth Thursday of the month. Our city guests on Tuesday night are Hannah Howard with the Nature Conservancy and Tangi Viner with Early Childhood Iowa Muscatine County. And then the following Tuesday, since we won't have a council meeting, Nick Gow is going to come from Parks and Rec and go over some of the stuff that we have to offer here in Muscatine. And Elizabeth Burlingame is going to talk about the new crisis line that's been up and running for about 6 to 8 months. It's an 800 number for mental health. If someone's in the middle of a crisis, they can call this number and get immediate help. So we're going to talk about both of those on our city October 2nd. The next Coffee with the Mayor is September 29th. That's a busy day. Mm-hmm. At 9 a.m. at Happy Joe's. And I think that's everything on my list. So we appreciate everybody for coming out tonight. Have a good couple of weeks, and we'll see you back here on October 2nd or 5th?
4th.
4th. There you go. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you.